What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of The Growth Blueprint. In last episode, we went over the core four and the biological underpinnings of what core four means and how it impacts your cortisol levels, your energy levels, your body fat levels, and how those things are so easy to mess up and get out of balance with. So if you haven't listened to that one, go listen to that one. But in this episode, we're going to be diving deep into one of those cores, and that's what the next couple episodes will be, is going in depth into these four core pillars of human physiology so that you can understand how to apply them to your life, what they mean, so that you can actually achieve the health and fitness goals that you want. And so this core that we're going to be diving into today is the core of movement. And now, when I say movement, I don't mean exercise. I don't mean workout programs. I don't mean, fat burning cardio. I don't mean your booty workout. I just mean literally movement as a biological principle, movement as a survival adaptation. And so we're going to build this up from this fundamental point of movement as a part of biology, so that we can understand why we actually move. Because one of the most common misconceptions that so many people have is that they need to move to burn fat. And now, while this isn't necessarily wrong, because any good health and fitness program does include specific kinds of movement, we do not move because we're trying to burn fat. We move because we are supposed to. And so that's kind of what we're going to dive into here. Because our bodies were designed for movement. Movement is an ancient adaptation. And so if we go way back, before fitness influencers, before things tracked steps, before any of that kind of stuff, movement was used to find food. It was used to find mates, escape predators, migrate. It was a core component of the survival of hundreds of thousands of millions of different organisms, things from bacteria moving around, right? Cheetahs chasing things. Everything moves, basically. Not literally everything, but think about all of the things around us in the natural world that exhibit movement. Every animal moves, right? Most bacteria move. There's gobs and gobs of things that actually move. And now when it comes to movement, it's dependent on and interwoven with a couple of different systems in our physiology that we're going to talk about. But first, I want to kind of hammer this point home that movement is something that we are supposed to do because it's what our bodies were built for, not necessarily something that we do for the sake of weight loss. And so a frame of reference that I like to use that you've probably heard me use in the past is the hunter-gatherer frame of reference. And so if we think about like our physiology, the way our bodies work, the enzymes that our body makes, the organs that we have, the systems that our body relies upon, all of these things have more or less stayed the same for hundreds of thousands of years, ever since humans have been a thing on this planet. It's not like it's not like our ancestors looked like a crocodile and we look like us. It's like, no, our ancestors were basically the same as us. But what has changed is the environment around us. And so if we think about what our physiology used to do all the time as it pertains to movement, it looked like hunting stuff, right? Foraging for things, tons of walking, running, carrying things, building stuff, migrating, maybe paddling a boat, right? Climbing a tree. Like we consistently moved our bodies throughout history, right? But that's not necessarily the case anymore, right? However, our physiology was designed to exist in an environment where movement was critical for our body's survival. Like think about if you lived in Africa on the Sahara and you broke your leg and all of a sudden struggled to move. You were not going to survive very long, right? We were built to move. It was necessary. It always has been a necessary part of the life of human beings on this planet. And so when it comes to movement as it pertains to your life and to your physiology, there's two different systems that we're going to talk about. Those are our cardiovascular system, which is composed of our hearts, lungs, and our vasculature, our blood vessels, and then our musculoskeletal system, which is composed of our muscles, our tendons, our ligaments, and our bones. And so we're going to start off with our cardiovascular system. Okay, and so there's some cool fast facts that I just think are really interesting. But we have like 60,000 miles of blood vessels in our body, which is 2.5 times around the earth. There's a lot of them. And the largest blood vessel in our body is our aorta, which is coming right off the top of our heart, and it's bigger than your thumb. It's 1 inch in diameter. It's huge. That's a huge blood vessel. And the smallest blood vessel in our body is 1/10 the diameter of a human hair, which is just ridiculously tiny. It's 1/10 the size, the 1/10 the width of a human hair. And these blood vessels bring oxygen, nutrients, hormones to every organ and cell in our body. Every single one of them. There's 37 trillion cells in our body, and every single one of them is connected to a blood vessel that feeds it the things that it needs to exist and thrive, and takes the waste products away so that it can be disposed of. And so, obviously, it should go without saying that keeping our cardiovascular system healthy is something that we should all take very seriously, right? And so this cardiovascular system, again, it was built to support every cell in our body while we foraged, while we hunted, while we fought, while we ran, while we moved. And so when we engage in cardiovascular movement, we increase oxygen delivery to tissues, we improve our insulin sensitivity, we strengthen the heart muscle itself, we support mitochondrial function or energy creation, we lower our resting cortisol levels, and we boost our mood through endorphins and dopamine. Right? Those are just some of the benefits of cardiovascular exercise. It's not something that needs to be thought of like punishment. It's something that actually drives and circulates life throughout our system. Something that I oftentimes use when talking about different peptides and stuff with people is I'll say like, okay, your cardiovascular system is like the road networks of a city. Okay? The better the road networks of a city, the more efficiently it can run. The healthier they are, the more efficiently it can run, right? The more access to a specific area there is, the more quickly you can bring things that are necessary there and take things that are unnecessary away. And so, making sure that all of this is well maintained is critical. And you got to remember that, again, this system, our cardiovascular system, was designed to function optimally with a physiology that was moving a lot, right? As a hunter-gatherer. We're not hunter-gatherers anymore, but the system is the same. The system is exactly the same, and so keeping that system functioning at its best requires movement. Okay, we're gonna get into like, what does that actually look like towards the end, but that's our cardiovascular system as it pertains to the biology of movement. And so our next is our musculoskeletal system, right? So that is our, muscles, tendons, ligaments, and bones, okay? And so this is where resistance training comes in, okay? Or moving things, moving our body against resistance, all right? And so, our musculoskeletal system is not necessarily just for aesthetics and PRs. Although if you're listening to this podcast, that's what you're focused on, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not what it's for, right? That's just a benefit of having a healthy musculoskeletal system is you look good and you're strong, which is awesome. But it's a lot more than that. Okay, our musculoskeletal system is pro-metabolic, it's hormonally protective, it's anti-aging. Again, it comes back to, why do we even have this in the first place? Well, we have this so that we can function in a world where we need to move stuff, where we need to hunt things, where we need to carry stuff, where we need to, use muscles to do work in our environment around us, okay? And so when we don't actually have to do any physical labor anymore, because most of us don't, right? Then it becomes something that we have to be intentional about. However, we have a musculoskeletal system that was designed to move things and build stuff and haul things and kill stuff and do all of that stuff. But if we don't have to do that anymore, then how do we keep this system healthy? Well, we resistance train, right? And so when we resistance train, we're going to increase our lean mass. That's the muscle tissue that we have, okay? We're going to improve insulin sensitivity again, just like we do with our cardio. It's going to stimulate testosterone and growth hormone. These are critical hormones for both males and females. Females actually have 10 times more testosterone than they have estrogen. Many of you may not have known that. It supports our joint and our bone health. It improves mitochondrial density. It helps with energy production, energy creation, all of those things, right? And so, again, when the system is functioning optimally, everything goes according to plan. You're going to feel much better. You're going to look much better. Your mood's going to be much better, right? But you have to compare what your daily life looks like and what daily life for a hunter-gatherer 100,000 years ago may have looked like, and assess whether or not you're actually giving your body enough of the movement that it needs to thrive, to function at its most optimal, right? And that's what we're going to get into, right? So, right, let's zoom out for a second. Let's take an examination of the world that we live in today and why this is such a problem, okay? So we live in a world where convenience is king, where instant gratification is the norm. I mean, I live close to a large metropolitan area, and so I can literally get like overnight shipping on almost anything that I want. I can go on Amazon Prime, I can order my protein powder, and it shows up literally, I could order it right now and it would show up tomorrow morning, which is insane, to my door. I don't even have to it's right there, right? I can DoorDash myself anything that I want. It's the convenience that we have is, I mean, convenience is king in this world, right? Now, I think that that's an amazing thing that we have. It's amazing that we have the ability to do those things and that there is infrastructure to be able to support that so that we can, have the convenience of being able to, run out of protein powder today and get more tomorrow. However, with all of this convenience comes so much less movement, right? It's really convenient that you can work from home 2 or 3 days a week. It's really convenient that, you can take an escalator, that you can take the elevator. It's really convenient that you don't have to, go chop down trees every day, that you can work at a desk job, an AC, right? It's really convenient, but as a consequence, our movement has completely crashed. I remember I was doing some research on like this whole hunter-gatherer kind of frame of reference months ago as I started to kind of think about it. And I think the statistic that I found was that, a typical kind of average American walks maybe like 5,000 or 6,000 steps a day. Okay. And I could be getting this wrong, but not a ton. They do some walking, 5,000, 6,000 steps a day, the average American. But the average hunter-gatherer would have walked like 23,000 steps in a day. And so they would walk as much as the average human does today in a week. It would take an average human an entire week of movement, of walking, to equate to what our hunter-gatherer ancestors did in a single day. And so it really should not come as much of a surprise that we have so many of the problems that we have, right? We have weak cardiovascular systems. Cardiovascular disease is the number one killer of people in the United States, right? And when we've cut our movement into 20% of what it used to be, 15% of what it used to be, right? Well, it's no wonder that the system that is responsible for keeping our body alive for movement and keeping our body healthy for those things is struggling, right? And so what we have to do is we need to find a way to reintroduce movement into your body and into your life on a consistent basis. And so this doesn't have to be anything insane. And so I was just on social media earlier today talking about how I don't do a whole lot of talking about exercise in my content that I put on social media. And that's because when it comes to exercise, we're going to start saying exercise now, because movement, right, in today's society is exercise, right? Because we don't need to move to survive anymore. Like, we're not going to die because we got caught by a bear or because we ran out of food because we didn't move. It's not necessary for survival in the way that it was necessary for survival 100,000 years ago. It's necessary for survival in different ways. And so the movement that is now necessary for survival is called exercise. And so again, we have cardiovascular exercise and we have resistance training. Those things cause specific adaptations to their specific systems so that we can optimize those systems to work the best that they possibly can as they were designed to function. And so when it comes down to it, probably the easiest way to start is to just start with something very, very small. And this is what I do with all of my clients, is I say, okay, let's look at what you're currently doing. Okay, and I have found that there tends to be like 3 categories of people. Every now and then there's like a 4th category, but most people fall into one of 3 categories. Either they're doing cardio and they're not resistance training, or they're resistance training and they're not doing cardio, or they're not doing either of those. Okay? And on the rare occasion, you'll have the people that are doing both, which means that your core 4 of movement, your movement core, is probably pretty well optimized, and then you need to pay attention to your other cores. But this is for those other 3 categories. Well, you're the ones that are doing cardio and not resistance training, the ones that are doing resistance training and not cardio, and the people that are doing none of those. And so the simplest way to kind of begin on this journey is to just say, what am I not doing? What's the most simple version of what I'm not doing? And then let's start it tomorrow. And so if I have somebody that's doing cardio and not resistance training, all I have them do, depending on their body weight, their ability level, is oftentimes I'll have people just start doing body weight resistance exercises. And so I'll say, do 100 wall push-ups or regular push-ups every day and 100 body weight squats. Do it every day, right? Every single day, over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it's amazing what happens in 2 weeks. They're not getting sore anymore. They feel so much better. They feel stronger. It builds from there. You know, maybe that's a little bit too easy for you. Maybe you have some dumbbells at home. You know, do some very simple, just add weight to those things. Hold a dumbbell and do some squats. You know, do some push-ups and some rows with your dumbbells. Like, it does not take, it's not rocket science. It's just physiology. But there's no kind of exercise routine that is the best for your body type. It really comes down to the fundamentals that we just discussed of movement being the medicine that your body needs and making sure that we're doing both of these things. Let's say that you're lifting weights, right? You're doing the resistance training on a regular basis, but you're not doing any cardio. Just start taking walks. It's that easy. Just start taking walks. And then if you fall into the category where you're not doing any of those things, well, guess what? Start doing 100 push-ups, 100 squats, and taking some walks. And that's an amazing, really easy place to start, because those things are easy to do, right? They're not hard to do. They're not complicated. They're very simple to do. And so we focus on building those things into your current routine because our bodies were built for that shit, right? Not because it's going to help us regulate our cortisol or help us burn body fat. It will, because It's going to bring our system back into alignment. It's something that is necessary for our bodies to function the way that they were designed to function. Again, we were designed to move. We were designed to move. That's what our bodies were built to do. And so we just need to move like we want to be alive, because living and moving were two inseparable things for so long, and they're not anymore. And so we need to bring it back into our life in such a way that we can be very sustainable and consistent with it, because that's where the magic happens, right? The exercise program that's going to help you burn 15 pounds in 30 days, right? By just like destroying you in the gym, right? Is not something that you're going to do for 25 years. But walking 5 times a week might be. Resistance training 2 to 3 times a week might be. And in reality, that's all it really takes. And so like the perfect scenario for my clients, for the vast majority of individuals out there, if you asked me the question, what is the perfect exercise routine? Well, the perfect one is, first of all, the thing that you're going to do for the rest of your life. That's the perfect exercise routine. And so that looks a little bit different for everybody. But what I try to get all of my clients to, the point that I try to get all of them to, okay, looks like, 2.5 to 3 hours of walking a week, and so this is like, 5 30-minute walks, a week, and 2 to 4 resistance training days a week. Okay. That is perfect. You don't need any more than that to have perfectly optimized systems of movement, to give your cardiovascular system all the incredible benefits that cardiovascular exercise is going to give it. You don't need any more resistance training to get the benefits that resistance training is going to give your body. That amount of movement is going to be enough medicine to regulate your hormones, to keep your metabolism functioning optimally, to give you the endorphins, to help with the energy, to do the mitochondrial density. Like that will do all of the amazing magical physiology that's required to get you feeling better and balance that core of movement in the core 4 that you have. And this is exactly where I try to get all of my clients, is to walking about 5 times a week and lifting weights 2 to 4 times a week. That's all it really takes. It doesn't take anything more than that. Now, obviously, if you have a little bit more specific goals, right? I work with some women that want to power lift, right? And they're powerlifting, and I take them to competitions. Obviously, our movement's going to look a little bit differently. I have some women that are a little bit more on they're not training for like a bodybuilding competition, but their goals include like significant amount of muscle mass. And so obviously our training looks a little bit different. But if your goal is just to feel better, lose weight, regulate your hormones, and like be in a body that you love and that looks great and functions awesome, then you just need to get to that point. 5 walks a week, 2 to 4 resistance training workouts, and you're going to be golden. It's going to be magical. You're going to sleep better. You're going to feel better. You're going to be in a better mood. Your digestion's going to be better. You're going to be so much more mentally clear. You're going to be able to focus. Your emotions are going to be more level. Your hormones are going to be more balanced. Your cortisol is going to be amazing. It really is magical. Movement really, truly is medicine. And movement is medicine because we were built and designed to move, but we live in a world where movement is no longer necessary for survival. But movement is necessary to thrive. And all of you listening to this want to thrive. And so we must move like we want to be alive. We must. You got to move like you want to live, like you want to be alive. Okay? So take wherever you're at, right? If you're already doing cardio and resistance training, then, keep doing it. Kudos to you. Stay tuned for the next 3 so you can figure out how to fix the rest of your core 4. But if you're not already doing cardio and resistance training, start super small. Start to implement these things into your life. And take 8 weeks, take 12 weeks to just start really slow, to ramp things up, to start to build this habit, this routine into your life. Because again, we need to find a way to move for the rest of our lives if you really truly want to get the results that you want and have them for the rest of your life. So that is the core of movement. Super passionate about it. I love all these core 4 things. But yeah, that's what I got for you today. So as always, your time is your most valuable resource. And so if you spent that with me here today, I greatly appreciate it. And I hope that I made it worth your while. If I did, I would greatly appreciate it if you would rate the show, give it a review, share it with somebody that you think could find this beneficial. That's how this show grows. That's how we help more people. And so you are my marketing plan for the podcast. And so if you loved it, share it, and I will see y'all in the next one.